So, earlier this week, my dad died. Um, there's complications due to his cancer, and obviously that has a very big impact on me. But it's one of these things that you realise that death is sort of seismic like this. That lots of people die in the world every day, and you don't really care about any of them. But of course, the closer you get to the epicenter, the closer you know these people, the bigger the impact it has on you. And so, me and my dad were very close friends. We were both sort of lifelong career scientists with many of the same key interests. And I spent most of the last 6 months uh, essentially fighting for him. Learning how all these sort of diagnostic things with cancer, just going through, checking everything, seeing if there are any other options on the table. And that really is one of the reasons why I'm making this public now is if I could turn the clock back 6 months and change anything, that would be, I think, top of the list. Is I want to know a whole lot more about cancer. I mean, the ballpark numbers is about 50% of people die from cancer. So that's either you've got a 50% chance of dying of cancer or your loved ones do. And so much of it just completely blindsided me. I just wasn't ready for it. So I figure I'll be making some videos like this. I mean, for the last 6 months, I've really been spending very little time on the YouTube stuff, which is you might have noticed. I'm now obviously going to start getting back into it, and it'll be more or less the same channel it always was, but I will be making some videos in there about, they're not things that you can make particularly fun or anything like that, but nonetheless, like I was saying, if I could change anything, I would want to know a whole lot more about cancer than I did. And it's probably, dealing with death is a very personal thing. It depends on how much you care for the person. It sort of depends on their quality of life as well. So I had grandparents die. I had two grandmothers, both one over 100, one just under. And their deaths were long expected and their quality of life had gone all the way down. And, like that, you didn't really feel too bad for them. They hadn't lost that much. But with my dad and me, not only were we very close, um, uh, he was still a very mentally active man when he died. In fact, he was still publishing or doing work on papers only 3 months ago. Um, so with my dad, on almost all of the counts, it was a very powerful experience, and I can see all these various aspects that people suffer trauma from. I don't think I've gone down these paths myself, but quite often a lot of the neuroses, the shock things that you can get out of this are extreme forms of something that everyone experiences. So I mean, I can very much see how people can get survivor's remorse. I mean, my dad's death was, in many ways, I wouldn't say it's as good a death as you can get, but surrounded by your family, telling you that they love you. This is in many ways as soft as it gets, and even at that, you find yourself asking these questions. Why was it him and not me? I mean, especially since me and my dad are so close. I mean, we're so you get elements of survivor's remorse like that, and I can also see how people can suffer a sort of recurrent trauma from these things, that your mind does keep going back to it again and again. And if you get sort of obsessive about these things, I can sort of see how you can sort of essentially burn a hole in your brain and go down the sort of PTSD route. I mean, this was, like I say, this is probably the death of someone is very close, but it's almost as good as you can hope for it to be. So I can quite easily see how people can suffer sort of a post-traumatic stress disorder like this. And one of the things that I found that really helped was actually going back and watching the videos of the guy when he was alive, when he was going well. That really helped. And it sort of stops you from, how shall we say, dwelling on the traumatic points. If you dwell too long on the traumatic points, it's going to eventually lead to a sort of compulsive disorder like that, and that's just not going to help you out. So I went through and watched a lot of the old stuff that I had of my dad, which helped a lot. In fact, there's this I've got the last talk that he gave. Like I say, he was keenly into World War II, and so the last lecture he gave was, even though he's a sort of research scientist, he had this interest in World War II as well. It was about the science and technology of the Battle of Britain. So I think I might put that up as a tribute to the guy. It was also kind of quirky. We sort of both ended up working in the end in sphere packing of one sort or another. Apart from with him, I mean, you wouldn't have thought packing of spheres is that interesting, but it's relevant for almost every area of science. So with him, it was packing of spheres is not far off sort of sandstone or watering pores. Almost all watering pores or oil in pores can be approximated to sort of two spheres stuck together and oil sort of stuck in the cracks. Which of course is very important for oil recovery, which is what a lot of the research was aimed at or funded by. And with me, proteins or biomolecules, most of those can be approximated balls or a series of balls stuck together, and water sort of balls which goes around the outside. So it's sort of sticky balls sticking to other balls is basically life. So that was kind of odd that we both ended up in sphere packing. I mean, I could make a fairly reasonable tribute to my dad. I don't think I will, because whilst he was he was a good guy. That was for me. And it's the seismic thing to everyone else out there. He's just some guy who died. That was another thing that really caught me completely blindside, that I'd spent so long with my dad over the last 6 months sort of fighting for him, that it was almost surreal when he did die, that you've just suffered the worst trauma in the world, or you know what I mean. It's just the bottom just drops out of your world, and then you still step outside and everyone's going about their business as normal, and it just seems very difficult to wrap your head around that. That was very tough. And there's another thing, so actually I think I'll leave it at that.